Time to go out and boil the water. Look at this. It's stuck right, it's frozen right to the, it's frozen. A blanket should not make that sound. Anyway, there we go. Now we got to get this one out of here. My goodness, Rocky. What are we going to do? It's cold, eh? It's too cold, my friend. It's way too cold. Yeah. Hey, we got to go outside here and get started on our stuff, though we do. My goodness, Rocky. It's insanity. It's supposed to get colder tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, it's supposed to warm up a little bit, which will be awesome. I'll be very happy if it does that, because I suppose. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Oh. Anyway. All right. Hey, you, Rocky, came and had a look, and he said, nope. No, we're not doing that. Okay. Now, get the stove open here. Well, holy smokes, man. It is cold. Okay, well, that at least came off today. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. These bottles are still lukewarm. There's a little bit of steam coming up there, you can see. Mm-hmm. Oh, there we go. That didn't work very well. That'd be why I never won the ball toss games at the fair. Yes, eh? It bounced right back out of the basket. Back in the 50s, apparently, my dad, the story I heard this story from a few people around Perth that were there and saw it. My dad, he was a teenager in the early 50s. He was born in 37, so yeah, he was 13 in 1950. Anyway, he was a teenager in the early 50s, and he went to the Perth Fair. And, you know, they had that game there where you could throw the softballs into the bushel basket and you could win stuffed animals and stuff. Anyway, he was really good at it. He figured out just exactly how to throw the ball so that it wouldn't bounce back out of there. If you got it in there at just the right angle, it wouldn't do it. But, of course, they had the thing angled in such a way that it was nearly impossible to do it. But my dad had figured it out anyway. So he started playing the game, and he was winning. And so people started giving him their money and getting him to play for them. And he was winning a lot of stuff. Anyway, he kept winning. And the operator of the game decided to shut him down. Told him he couldn't play anymore. So my dad, he said to the guy, because there was always a cop walking around patrolling the grounds. So he said to the guy, he said, you know, do I need to get the cop over here? He might be interested to see how this game is set up, you know, so that people will have a very hard time winning, or it's next to impossible to win. He said it's just all in the angle, but unless you get the exact angle, you're not going to win. And so it puts everybody at a severe disadvantage. And he said it's kind of cheating, really. He said, would you like me to get the cop over here and tell him that I can't play, he won't let me play anymore? Have him have a look at your game and that like that. Anyway, the guy decided he didn't want for that to happen. But what he did is he just closed it up. closed up his game. He would have had to let my dad keep playing, and my dad would have cleaned him out. So he just closed the game up, is what he did. He didn't want the scrutiny that was going to come from the cops if they came over and so on like that. Because my dad told him exactly how he was cheating people. So he didn't want him telling the cop that, you know. So the game got shut down anyway. Well, actually, it didn't get shut down. He shut it down voluntarily. Because for today at least, I mean, he probably went back at it whenever my dad wasn't around, but he didn't play it anymore. He just shut it down that way. Nobody could play it. My goodness, eh? Look at that. Crazy. All right. Oh. Anyway, that's the story I heard about my dad anyway, back in the early 50s. Playing the game. There was another story actually too. Back in 1950, you know, when the Ottawa exhibition happened, which is the big fair in Ottawa, my dad and his friends wanted to go. And there was some drifter had come into town and was hanging around town. And this fella had an old Hupmobile. And for anybody that doesn't know what a Hupmobile is, a Hupmobile was a car. They don't make them anymore, but it was a car anyway. It was an old car even in 1950, a Hupmobile. They hadn't made them in a while. Even in 1950 they hadn't. Anyway, he had this old Hupmobile. That's H-U-P mobile. And they called them a Hupmobile when they were going down the road. That's the sound they made. That's how they sounded. You'd hear hup, 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 hup. You know, if you ever heard a Hupmobile, that you recognize that. That's how they sounded. Anyway, my dad and his friends each paid this fella a few dollars. I don't know how much exactly. It wouldn't be much by today's standards, I'm sure, but it'd be a good sum back then. They each paid this man a few dollars to take them to the Ottawa exhibition. And the deal was he was to take them up there in his car, and then he was to come and they were going to meet somewhere, and he was going to bring them back the perf. Well, they gave him their money, and of course he took them up there, and then they never saw him again. He just buggered off, and he was gone, you know. They never saw him anymore. And so my dad and his friends had to walk home from Ottawa to Perth at night. And of course, in 1950, at night, there wasn't that much traffic on the road. They got a few rides, but it was just people going very short distances, you know. They might have got into a car with somebody that was traveling into the next town or the next village, you know, maybe 3-4 miles down the road, or that was going to visit a neighbor or something like that down the road or whatever. So they got a few short rides, but mostly they had to walk. And they didn't get home until sometime the next day, anyway. And then my dad, he spent a day sleeping. And when he got up the next day, he went out looking for the man that had taken their money, that hadn't kept his word, you know. He and his friends did. They formed a posse, and they were going to find this guy, and they were going to teach him a lesson. I guess they're going to knock a few rounds out of him. But they never did find him. He never came back to Perth, as far as anyone knows. So that was it. Anyway, they just had to kiss their money goodbye. That's all. And they had to walk. They got up there. He at least brought them up there. But my dad always figured the guy probably got drinking, got into a bar and started drinking with the money they'd given him. And so that's the reason he never picked them up. And that's probably accurate too. Anyway, just another story anyway about my dad. But yeah, gotta boil this water and get it into the bottles. It's quite cold out here, but it's not as bad as you'd think. You definitely wouldn't want to be out here without a good coat on, though. I'll tell you. But actually, I'm surprised it isn't far worse out there than it is. But, yeah. Anyway, that's the story of the old hobo with the Hupmobile and the Ottawa Exposition. Oh, my goodness. Oh. Oh. All right, I'm going to loosen these caps a little bit because otherwise they may freeze on out here. And I don't want that to happen. So I just loosen them off a bit. There we go. Okay. Yep, there we go now. I'll make sure these ones are loose too. That one was already starting to freeze. It's a good thing I turned it back a bit. I'll do the same with this one here. That one was just starting to as well. Okay, here we go. Okay, we'll see y'all later.